Oh, I'm checking out on my side.
What's that?
I'm checking out on my side.
Okay, cool. Just make sure you're on mute.
I don't see us going live though.
All right, folks, welcome back. This is Chris live in Johannesburg, somewhere in an undisclosed location, deep under the brick and steel. No, wait, that's another program. Welcome. That's Mark Levin's program. Welcome back. This is Chris live in Joburg with none other than Morning Shots, Roman Cabanac. Roman, how's it going, man?
Chris, very well, thank you. Good to actually see you in person this time.
It is. You know, we didn't cross paths last time because you were busy on a holiday, but it wasn't really a holiday. You had some family stuff to take care of.
Very much so.
Yeah.
Very much so. But now I'm here. So well, welcome to my city.
Yeah, it is your city, isn't it? You know, this trip, Roman, I've seen parts of Joburg. I've never seen it. All the trips I made to South Africa, I've been to Joburg many times, but I've seen places I've never seen before, particularly up in Sandton City. Some parts I had never seen.
Oh, the nice parts.
Yeah, you know, I'd never envied money, but after driving through there, I might be converted to envying money. Quite lovely. But that's just part of Joburg. Joburg has so much more to it.
Yeah, so a lot of people say, oh, why don't you move to the Western Cape? Firstly, there's like sort of too many Karens down there, and it's very expensive.
I like how he says Karens instead of saying Karens.
Yeah, Americans say Karens.
No, we say Karens.
Oh, do you say Karens?
South Africans say Karens. We say Karens.
Oh, really?
Yes,
okay.
That's why I like how you say it.
My mistake.
That's quite all right.
And I like Joburg. Joburg's sort of like 20 years ahead of the rest of South Africa in terms of...
So 40 years behind America.
Yeah, well, 20 years in terms of degradation.
Oh, okay. Yeah, you're ahead of us in that respect. And wokeism, we're catching up fast, though.
Yes. But I think Joburg's still a great place to live in. It's a place that people don't care about too much, but there's still a lot of opportunity to make money and to actually live quite a good life without the sort of encroachment of the state. So I would recommend more people live here.
Well, one thing I like about it, of course, I grew up wanting to be a forest ranger. Most people don't know that about me. That's what I wanted to do in life. But I quickly realized that you had to spend a lot of money on education and you were paid nothing. So
fair enough.
So maybe not the best move for a poor person who has to rely on student loans to get through university. I'd still be paying them back 40 years later. But I do love the natural environment. I do love conservation of forestry, and this is the world's largest man-made forest.
That's right. If you especially go on the M1 north from the Joburg Central Business District to Sandton, you just look left. You just see trees
Everywhere.
You just see trees.
It's amazing. It's a huge forest that they've done. Yeah, it's amazing. And I don't know, do you know the history?
Thanks to colonialism, yes.
Is that what it's colonialism?
The British planted all those trees.
Evil people.
The acorn. So they're mostly like invasive species, like acorn trees and oak trees and things like that. So they're not indigenous trees. But yeah, the British did it.
But they're pretty.
They are very pretty. they give much needed shade.
Nice shade. They stop erosion.
Yeah, not good if you're sensitive to hay fever and things like that. But oh well, it's the cost of living here. I don't mind it.
No, but so you love Joburg.
Well, I'm not saying I'm in love with it.
Oh, okay. We don't want to use too strong a word here.
I know it well, and I think that it does offer you quite a lot for your money, especially.
I'll buy that for a rand.
Yeah.
Especially since there's 18 to the dollar now.
Yeah, so you basically came in for free.
Yeah, kind of, anyway. All right, let's talk about some substantive issues here. So I know something near and dear to your mind is that the amazingly brilliant new, basically chief executive officer of the ANC, one of Ronaldo's favorite people, right after Andile Lungiza, that's his favorite person.
Right.
That's Mr. Jughead. He really loves, is it Fikile Mbalula, I think his name is?
Fikile Mbalula.
Okay, so yeah, he's doing well, yes?
He's doing very well.
For himself.
He's destroyed the sports. He was Minister of different portfolios.
Yeah.
Minister of Sport, he destroyed it. Minister of Police, he destroyed that. And now he's Minister of Transport, which he is currently destroying.
Yeah.
And so therefore, as the CEO of the ANC...
Maybe he'll destroy the ANC.
Not maybe. I think it's happening in real life.
It's a given.
As we speak. Like, this is the most important figure in the ANC. It's the Secretary General.
Yeah.
The CEO, the one who has to pay salaries and look at operations and do campaigning and do electioneering and run the whole organization as a CEO. And they chose this Muppet to do it. It's remarkable.
Listen, I have to ask. I mean, I thought it was almost impossible to do worse than Ace Magashule.
Well, he was in the job for like 3 months. Then he was, set
Absent
aside.
without leave.
Yeah, then absent without leave. I wonder if he's still getting paid for that job.
Of course
by
he
the way.
is. It's like Zandile Gumeda, who was removed from the mayorship of eThekwini, Durban,
right.
and then surreptitiously appointed to the provincial legislature by the ANC until folks like myself, and I think you probably exposed it too, and the mainstream media finally called up and exposed it, and people got angry. But she's suspended, but still drawing a salary.
No, with pay. I think we're paying. I think in South Africa, it's the one state where you're suspended with pay, but the suspension never ends.
Yeah.
Because you need people to do hearings and all that sort of nonsense. So yeah, these people are being paid for doing nothing, which is probably better than being paid
actually doing something.
Doing something.
Because they'll screw it up even worse.
Because when they do something, they break things. But if they're not doing anything, I'd rather think of it as like sort of reparations or a basic income grant for like ANC cadres. Just stay at home, we'll pay you. I'm actually in favor of that.
So is it like the super Sasa grant?
It's reparations for the struggle.
Reparations
I think
for
it's
the struggle.
better.
Is that what it is? Okay.
Yeah.
Recompense. Recompense. Yes. Okay. Well, I see that you're very happy with the developments of the ANC.
Very much so.
Speaking of which, the State of the Nation Comedy Hour. Did you catch it the other night? I was giving a presentation at Rondebosch to the Reformation Societies, so I didn't catch it live.
Right. So we live streamed the whole thing for our sons. 4 hours.
Which is what I usually do.
I almost died by hour 3 because I was exhausted.
That's stamina. These young oaks.
Well, Chris is retired. I'm not. I do things.
Why do people think I'm retired? I'm not retired.
I'm
retired from active military service.
Exactly. So now
and I work 7 days a week, 365 days a year.
Yes, but it's different.
Well, I'm not carrying rucksacks and climbing mountains, but you weren't doing that either.
Who says? No.
No. Please, give me a break.
So, State of the Nation was great. I enjoyed it tremendously. I think the more Parliament becomes a farce, the better it is for South Africa. The problem with South Africa, for the most part, is that we treat politicians like celebrities.
Yeah, they're not. Well, we do the same in America.
Yes.
Look, you know what I tell people in America? I said, listen, before you get all excited about your congressmen, your senators, show respect and deference to the office that's due. That's enough.
Yeah.
Okay. But these are just the better dressed used car salesmen, ambulance chasing, shyster lawyers who are sometimes better looking than the average oak and are able to have the gift of gab to convince you to be a sucker enough to vote for them, by and large.
Yes,
in America, because we actually vote for the candidates. Not like here where you vote for party lists.
No, here you vote for the party. So a lot of these people are celebrities, and I think the problem is politics in South Africa is largely based on, it's not ideology, it's based on aspirational elements, right? So people will vote for the ANC because they think there is a better life if they vote for the ANC, and which was true for the
first 10 years.
For about the first decade, right? But people vote for the EFF because Julius is aspirational, right? He dresses well, he's got nice cars, he speaks on behalf of the poor, he lives with the whites to fight them from within somehow. Something about, no one actually cares about expropriating wealth or expropriating land or things like that. They'll vote for Julius because he's a celebrity figure. Yeah. That's what they think about.
It's a cult of personality.
So the more they make a mockery of themselves as people, I think the better it is in general for the country.
They expose themselves. They're walking around with their trousers hanging down and they don't realize it.
No, very much so. The guy's wearing the red overalls with $2,000 Gucci shoes on. It's great.
Yeah, it's the irony is not lost on those paying attention. The problem is that historically most people aren't paying attention, but it's something I noticed on this trip, Roman, different than when I was here 6 months ago, is that I told you already that 6 months ago I ran into people, Zulu, Xhosa, Ndebele, Tswana, Venda, Afrikaners, Germans, English speakers, who were angry. And of course, a lot of the whites and a lot of the coloreds were angry at the ANC. And some of the blacks were angry at the ANC that I met. But this time, almost to man and woman, every person I talked to, petrol station attendants, pool cleaners, wait staff at hotels and restaurants, celebrities, I met a few of those, and even politicians, everybody's angry at the ANC.
I think they are where sort of those who pay attention to the news, like us, we were saying this
ages ago,
5-10 years ago.
Exactly.
So I think people have reached the point where we were 5 years ago.
But they still have a ways to go.
So what are those levels of acceptance? Like anger, then acceptance, then
there's denial, then
So they are the angry part. We are at the sort of, this is all satire and we should laugh at it immensely.
We're all going to be close to the revolution for too long.
Yeah. So
and not just here, back on my side.
So I'm not angry at the ANC anymore. I don't even pity them. I look at them and laugh.
Well, they're a farce.
They are a farce. Most politics in this country is a utter and complete farce. So after anger comes acceptance that We live in Africa. I think people need to accept that.
Yeah.
And that it perpetuates a type of mindset that you're not going to have elsewhere. We mustn't think this is just a European country or whatever the case might be. It's an African country.
It is an African country.
And Africa has certain characteristics. If you accept them, you have a great life.
Yeah.
If you don't accept those characteristics, you're not going to have a great life. You're always going to be anxious or angry or whatever the case might be. But Cyril Ramaphosa is not Joe Biden, right? He's more effective than Joe Biden.
Yes,
but what I'm saying
probably true.
But what I'm saying is the office of the presidency in the US is still prestigious.
Yes.
Here
And powerful.
And powerful. Here it's not. Here
I mean,
it
look,
really is
we
not.
can marshal F-22s to shoot down unidentified flying objects.
Right, like weather balloons that you set off yourself. I don't really understand.
Like when an Air Force general says we're not ruling out that it could be of alien origin, I just, oh, dear God. And here's the scarier thought. Gareth Cliff and I talked about this yesterday.
Yeah?
We shot down something that we admitted to the public we didn't know what it was. What if it was like a KAL airliner or something like that? We shot down a commercial airliner. I mean, who shoots at something they can't identify?
And they don't find any debris after the fact.
I think it's in Area 51 now.
Oh right. Remarkably. Well, I think all those UFO things was not fake, but I think it's distracting us from something a bit larger.
Sure. I mean, all the pilfering and the state resources going on in America now, and handing out of our tax dollars. It's oh gosh, wow. No, but the ANC. So 2024. It's not that far away.
Next year, so I'm well on the record for saying that the best worst option we have is the DA-ANC coalition, and I'm going to fall on that sword.
Okay.
A lot of people have criticized me, and that's fine. You're welcome to do so.
You can't please everybody.
You can't please everyone. A lot of anonymous Twitter accounts really hate me because of that. So you change so much, Ramon, they say. It's just a political opinion. I'm allowed to have them.
Oh, but okay. Let me be clear about something. You're saying that that's your analysis. That's not necessarily saying that's what you hope for.
It is what I hope for.
It is what. Okay. Well, you're coming out and saying that. Okay.
Yeah, no, it is what I hope for.
You have changed, Ramon. Damn it! The microphone comes off. We're out of here.
We're out of here.
Stage left.
So, I mean, the caveat is, I still think South Africa is sort of going to break up
Yes.
as a country. Not officially. It's not going to be Kosovo or something like that. But
No, but there's going to be outside of state. There's going to be a parallel economy,
yeah,
parallel
very much so.
everything.
It's already happening in front of us.
It is.
as we
Security
speak.
services,
Right.
electricity, all parallel.
Like where we are is completely off the grid, right? You have to be a member to be part of this thing. What outside is drudgery and misery and whatever the case might be. Inside is not. There's a clear category.
It's a separate world.
Separate world. There's a clear category, and that's happening to cities. It's happening to towns.
That's a heck of a swimmer.
He is quite. It's happening to municipalities all over the place. Like Umgeni in KZN, that's going to be like the shining star of KZN.
Yeah.
Right. If the DA keep doing what
If they're making
over
the
there.
progress they've been making under Chris Pappas and that
Yeah.
council, yes.
Yeah. They just need to
Keep it up.
get a militia to defend it. But other than that, you can build these centers of excellence which are outside of state control and state overreach. And I think South Africa is just going to be like that. So you're going to have a wasteland for a lot of it. You're going to have clear principalities of order and cooperation and off-the-grid living and state-proofing. And you're going to get order created by criminal syndicates, so gangsters, mafias, and all the rest of it. That order is going to be extremely localized because the state will have no authority or capacity to do much for it. So that's why I think the state will still break up. I just think if the DA and the ANC get together, it will be a more gradual collapse. I don't want an abrupt collapse.
Because that's chaos, anarchy.
Exactly, and people are still building stuff as we speak, the alternatives.
Need time to build the parallel system.
Exactly, so parallel systems are being built, but they're not ready yet. And they won't be ready by next year. So if the DA and ANC get together, and I don't want them to work together or anything, but I just want them, especially the DA,
To manage the decline.
to mitigate the worst effects of ANC populism.
Yeah.
Because
They're not going to fix the ANC. Some people think the ANC can be fixed. That's impossible.
No.
Their worldview is diametrically opposed to what most of the rational world wants.
No, very much so. So I'm still looking for the gradual decline of the state rather than at the abrupt one. I don't want violence. I don't want revolutionary zeal. I don't want land invasions or land grabs. All those things could happen under ANC-EFF. I find unlikely that coalition will exist in the first place. And if it does exist, it won't last long because it's based on this. Is there some game of grift at the end of the day? Whereas the DA and the ANC together, they won't get along, and I don't expect them to. I don't expect that to last long either, by any means. But I think it'll cut the ANC's ideological streak in half. immediately.
Would also, because there obviously have to be power sharing.
Yes.
So some ministries will fall under the DA.
Yeah.
And some key positions fall under the DA, and we could at best hope that would be competent and an honest effort there.
Yeah, I don't think that the DA is tremendously that competent. But as long as it's not like overzealous revolutionary shtick from these ministries, that's fine. I'm still saying the decline is still here, and it will be here for forever. I don't see South Africa becoming a normal country again as a nation state. Just make sure that people are ready once it does collapse, that people are ready for it. And I think the ANC coalition is the best way to do that.
Interesting. A word I've been using a lot this week, I used it and I didn't even realize it's the name of Ernst van Zyl new documentary. It comes out this week. I've been invited to the private showing the night before it's released publicly. So that's tomorrow night. I'll be going to that. But the word I started using, that's the name of the documentary. I didn't steal it because I learned the word, but self-bestia, self-reliance. Because people have been asking me, what can you do? Because I mean, I often offer solutions like you. I don't just bitch and moan and complain about things. I say, here's a way to go forward. The problem is that the powers that be aren't interested in going forward. But self-reliance, and that's really what a lot of South Africans who have the means have been doing. From my perspective, like you and I said, it's been 5-10 years. We've been talking about this decline, and people needed to become self-sufficient years ago. A lot of them are just now getting to it. If they'd started 3, 4, 5, 10 years ago, they'd be fine. And frankly, Gareth Cliff asked me this. He said, so, how would you improve things with Eskom? I said, well, I didn't get a chance to answer the full question fully because Gareth likes to go in another direction before I finish. But I did answer the question in part in saying that, with every person who gets off the grid and becomes self-reliant, whether it's JoJo's for your water or your own electrical generation, your own security services, your own community policing, every person that does that, that takes pressure off the bigger system that everyone else is relying on. So by default, if you have the means, you're actually helping the poor.
I mean, I'm much more selfish than that. I don't care about helping the poor.
No, I'm not saying I want to help the poor either, or I don't want to help it. I'm just saying, in effect, that's what happens.
Yeah. I mean, in essence, Eskom's going to have two customers: government departments and public buildings, and then the poor who don't pay.
Exactly.
Everyone else is going to be off-grid. The president has already said he wants to see tax incentives for going off-grid.
Yeah, without identifying them, we're waiting for that answer.
Yeah, we're still waiting for the answer.
Should be no VAT on any alternative energy whatsoever.
No, not good enough. I want a subsidy. Thank you very much. The problem is I'm really off-grid, so now
I don't like subsidies.
Do I get a subsidy?
I'm a free market guy.
The ANC, Chris.
He's gonna learn me now.
The ANC is paying you not to use their stuff.
No, I like the idea, but the ANC's not paying you. Taxpayers are paying you.
Who cares?
I care.
If taxpayers pay me, it's going to go to a much better cause. It's not going to be wasted on nonsense.
I don't want other people's money. Look, I'll take your super chats, but I don't want other people's money.
If taxpayers' money was going towards
wait,
people
I got to correct
like
that.
me,
I want the money in this place that I saw. To that one, I want that money. If taxpayers' money was going to you.
If taxpayers' money is going back to the middle class, for once, the middle class gets something, right? In terms of a subsidy for off-the-grid generation, whatever. But to pay for that, we should increase VAT to at least 20% so that the poor pay their fair share. Because I think they've been given a free ride for 30 years.
You say that in almost a sarcastic tone, but I know you're not being sarcastic.
No.
Yeah, I know you're not being sarcastic. Listen, that's what bothers me about when they talk about fair taxation. We have a progressive tax system. That's not fair. The wealthiest 1% pay 46% of our income tax.
Yes.
That's not fair.
Well, here as well. 2 million people pay 8% of income tax.
Exactly. Most Americans who make $50,000 or less and have 2 kids, a 4-person family, which is a fortune in everywhere else in the world, $50,000 US. But in some parts of the states, that's barely enough to get by. But $50,000, most of them pay nothing in federal income tax. And people are complaining about the tax system's unfair. Yeah, it is. It's unfair to the people that actually pay. So I don't like progressive tax systems. If the government wants to confiscate my money, I think I should be just as equal as everyone else. 10% and you're done with it. I'm done.
No, I would agree.
Everybody.
It's not going to happen here.
No, it's not going to happen with us either.
But if the middle class can actually get something back for their taxes, as in you pay 30%, but you get 10% back to go off-grid. So you get paid. The incentive for you is to go off-grid and not use government services, therefore making you self-reliant, therefore making you less reliant on the very people who want to eat you for lunch.
And the irony of that is that every person goes off-grid and no longer pays for rates. Yeah. That's less revenue to the state.
Exactly. What are the incentives to pay for rates? What are they going to do to you? Cut off your electricity?
Because you're not getting electricity.
They're already doing that for 20 years.
They're already doing it for 8 hours a day.
Yeah. Oh my goodness. You haven't paid rates in 2 years. So what? What you going to do?
You haven't provided electricity in 2 years.
What are you going to do?
Yeah, exactly.
If I don't pay rates for
you're going to lock
for
up 5
years,
million people?
well, they can't lock you up for debt.
Yeah. Oh, that's true too.
They can go to court and maybe get an attachment order.
Yeah.
Okay.
But they can't confiscate 5 million homes.
No, they can't. So I think it's a great idea. I think more than middle class should get more taxes back from the amount they pay, and the poor should pay their fair share, so increase it back to 20% to cover the difference for the subsidy for the middle class.
All right, that's a plan. It's a solution. I don't think we're going to see it in that fashion.
I'm all about solutions.
As am I. But like your solutions, the powers that be don't want to listen to my solutions. Probably because they work.
I don't really care about the power. I mean, first of all, if you're not avoiding tax, you're already what the hell are you doing with your life? Tax avoidance.
Well, I'm not Italian, so I don't avoid tax.
You don't avoid tax.
No, I have no choice. See, South Africans don't
not evade.
Okay. Correct terminology. Yeah.
Yes.
Avoid, not evade. Yeah.
Yes.
No, but America, a lot of our taxes are baked in. So, for instance, if you work for an employer, you have no choice. Your employer is required by law to take that tax. It comes out of your pay. And then, and that's for Social Security, Medicare, and federal income tax, state and local, if you're in a jurisdiction that has that. So that's gone. States determine sales tax because we don't have a national VAT. So some states have no sales tax. Some have as high as 10%, which sounds great here, but it's huge for us. So you don't have a choice. You buy something that's there. The petrol taxes are in there from the federal and the state level. And in fact, Pennsylvania has the highest level of state taxation, and when you add the federal to it, we pay more in taxes than any other state in the country. California briefly was ahead of us, but we raised ours again, so now we're ahead of them.
Right.
Oh, congratulations. And then you have all sorts of other taxes. My cable bill, 48% of it is taxes and fees. And it's basically doubled my cost of having internet and cable service. It's insane. My mobile phone, 40% of the price is taxes and fees, and I can't stop that. I can't get away from that.
But those are very small taxes.
Oh, compared to the income tax, that's true.
But for example, the income tax in South Africa, I think, is almost a third or just more than a third of total revenue for the state.
Yeah.
Right.
So for the federal government, for us, it's let's see, they're spending $6 trillion now. They're taking, I think, around over $3 trillion in income tax. So about a
So I think here the budget's about 1.2 trillion, and income tax is about 500 billion.
Yeah.
Somewhere around there. So if that income tax goes away, you're not going to make that up with fuel taxes or other nonsense.
No, but my point was that people talk about avoiding. We can't avoid those because they're built into our system. Our government's very efficient at taking that money, whether we want them taken or not. The only way to avoid taxes in America is if you do things informally. And our informal sector is not like it is in Europe, where they're very good at evading things. Very good. Italians and Germans working off the books is a national pastime.
The Germans as well.
Ooh, the Germans are very good. In fact, the German tax folks try to go after so many Germans. Millions of Germans have money squirreled away in Austria, in Liechtenstein, and in the Channel Islands because they got interest there and they paid no taxes on it. The Germans went after them about 15 years ago, and they gave them a holiday, and billions and billions and billions of dollars of marks came back to the German economy because they were going to confiscate their wealth if they found out about it. Not in the banks, but the wealth they had in Germany. So
right.
Yeah, so they gave them a grace period, then it came back. But yeah, no, it's for a long time, and in Swiss banks too. So the Germans would squirrel money away, and a lot of Germans, like people were insurance agents. They would work for their employer, but then they do insurance on the side. Some lawyers would do stuff on the side, wouldn't report it, things like that. It's the Italians have turned it into an art. The Germans have turned into a science.
Of course, that's what they do. So here, I mean, there's no great art or science tax avoidance. Number one, if you become self-employed, it's a lot easier.
Yeah.
You can claim a lot of expenses.
That's true.
You only pay on profits. You pay.
And that's actually legitimate.
More, of course, yeah, that's legitimate. That's why people start businesses.
Yeah.
Right. I mean, it's much more economical to start a business with the tax regime as is, rather than being employed for it, because your taxes as an employee go off automatically.
Just like ours.
Yeah, you can't control it. But interestingly enough, I wonder, the corporates are getting a bit tired of the ANC. I saw that the response to the State of the Nation address was just like, whatever,
yeah,
it's an eye roll.
Same old. So
there's been this notion of a tax revolt in South Africa for a while.
Willem Petzer was going to start some sort of tax.
Yes, yeah. And I wonder if the corporates are fine. So the way the corporates do tax avoidance, like they put up a trust in Mauritius, whatever, and they send money there and all that. But if they actually withheld income tax for the employees here, put it in a separate trust, and say we'll release it based on these conditions, and it could be billions and tens of billions of rands after a year, because SARS as I understand it, I could be wrong, they run on 50 billion rand every day. As sort of the national sort of income for the country.
The cash flow.
If like there's a 2 or 3 day gap, it's a huge nightmare.
And it's hard to catch up because you need more to catch up.
It's a huge nightmare. So if you have to pay tax, do it on the very last day, firstly, because that does screw SARS quite a bit. But if there's like a month gap where like 10% of income tax is not paid for that month,
They got a problem.
they've got a huge problem. And then the cascading effects, who knows where it leads.
Well, I'm surprised they're even solvent as it is. I mean, if it wasn't for the $5.6 billion that the IMF, the World Bank, the African Development Bank, and then the BRICS Bank came in later with another billion the next year, if that $7 billion hadn't come in 2020, it's game over because the ANC crushed the economy.
Yeah,
Revenue just collapsed.
And there was a commodity cycle boom
That too, but that came
which
to
was
an
an
end too.
extra 200 billion over what they expected and all that sort of stuff. But the ANC are getting away with sort of finding, money in couches and all this
Listen,
sort of stuff.
I had to change my schedule. I was planning on going to Pala Pala just so I could sleep and lift the mattress and see if I'd won the lottery. But that's going nowhere.
No, of course it isn't. But in terms of the taxes, the ANC know that there's going to be a sovereign debt crisis somewhere.
Yes.
We know within the next 5-10 years, maybe. It can be mitigated, don't worry. But they are trying to get all this cash, like the $7 billion from the World Bank or whatever the case, over the course of 2 years. They're doing that just to plug in the gaps that they already have.
Yes.
They're not doing it to create something new.
But my point was, without that money, they're insolvent.
Exactly.
And they couldn't pay their SASA grants. They can't pay. Well, I mean, the ANC itself as a party can't even pay its salary at the Thule House. So, which was sad. The DA marched on the Thule House, and the poor employees there haven't been paid. And I kind of felt bad for them. Not for the leaders, but for the staff.
I don't. People deserve it.
I don't know. Maybe they should work for somebody else.
Every time there's like a protest or a flood somewhere, and then people complain, I just pull up the voting record of that district.
Fair enough.
Oh,
Fair
ANC. Oh, too bad.
But you know what? People will vote for change. Look at Howick. Look at Umgeni there. Look at that.
Yeah.
I mean, the DA won every ward, and people across that municipality voted for them for change, and they're getting it. Now, will they be loyal to the party that gave them change and improved the city? We'll see. But people will vote for change.
They tend to be. So when a party government outright in place, like the DA in Midvaal, they've governed it outright for.
Oh, that's got to be the best run municipality in South Africa.
Umgeni as well, they govern it outright. When there's a coalition, it's always a nightmare.
Well, that's a different story, yeah.
But if the DA is able to stay in power for 4 or 5 years, they generally do win better in the next 4 or 5 years. I actually spoke to a mayor of the DA based in the Eastern Cape, and he said the first 5 years, all he could do was just pay off debt.
Yeah.
He couldn't actually do any service delivery.
So much.
They accrued so much debt, and they weren't paying contractors, or the contractors weren't doing any work, so he couldn't actually do any service delivery in the first 5 years of his term.
Was he able to stay in another term?
He won the next term, and now he's actually able to do service delivery stuff.
Well, that's nice that the voters gave him a second chance.
Well, yeah, thankfully. But that's one small municipality in the Eastern Cape.
Yeah.
Imagine a metro. Like
Joburg I got you. No, but Howick is an outlier because the DA's never had a municipality in the KZN.
Right.
And it's only really been the ANC and the IFP. So, the thing that for me that's I think probably going to be a bit unfortunate because I think they're going to squander it is that for the build up to 2020 municipal elections, I told people for a year in advance, go vote for anybody that wasn't ANC and EFF if you want change. Of course, the DA said don't vote for smaller parties because it's a vote for the ANC. I disagree with that. A vote not for the ANC and for the EFF, but a vote works in your favor. Anyway, I told people to vote for the party that had the best chance to win an outright majority.
Sure.
Which in most cases means DA. In Western Cape, possibly Nelson Mandela Bay, where they actually fell backwards. They did worse. And maybe in Gauteng, and then that's about it. And then in KZN, IFP, that's about it.
Yeah.
I mean, there might be a few small little places, maybe the Freedom Plus, but unlikely. So those are the two parties you're probably going to vote for. Vote if they have an outright majority. Vote for them, chance to get it. Give them a chance to show that they can be transparent, deliver services, get the job done. And that's the way forward. Now, the IFP, mostly because of the internal insurrection in July of 2021 in the ANC, the ANC cratered in KZN. I mean, they lost so many voters. Voters just stayed away from polls. Hundreds of thousands of ANC voters didn't even vote. As a consequence, the IFP, which gained 2% more votes, which isn't much, people thought they did great. They only did great because the ANC voters didn't show up.
Yep.
But they went from 8 municipalities to 16 in either outright control with a majority coalition or a minority coalition. They control 16 municipalities. They have a golden opportunity to do exactly what I said. And I think they're going to squander it.
So I don't trust the IFP on their own, but the DA and the IFP have an agreement in KZN now, since last year October, I think. So the DA is
Francois Rogers, that's what I was thinking really.
So the DA is not running in certain wards, and they're propping up the IFP guy, and that's worked well in 2 wards so far. And now the EFF has done a great thing in terms of cutting off all ties with the IFP. But then the EFF in KZN are like, hold on, Julius, last year you told us don't vote for ANC at all costs. Vote for IFP rather.
So what are we supposed to do?
And that's what we told voters to do. And that's how. And now you're saying, all your hard work before the 2021 election was a waste of time. I've changed my mind because I'm the dictator of the EFF. So the EFF in KZN is starting to sort of split. To what extent, I don't know.
It's difficult to follow.
Yeah, we made a video about this yesterday. So there's really a new party, the African Freedom Fighters, or African Economic Fighters. It's a split from the EFF.
Is it real, or are you just naming it?
No, I promise you, it's real. It's a former Secretary General of the EFF in KZN.
I hadn't heard this. I've been busy running around.
I think his name is Mtetwa.
Okay.
I think it's a small nonsense party. It's not going to do much. But the fact that the EFF in KZN is sort of rebelling a little bit against Julius Malema because he wants to go with the ANC now at all costs for the grift. Right, that's all it is there for. So I think the IFP actually has a golden opportunity to really capitalize on this notion that they're not working with socialists, because in their constitution or manifesto they're explicitly anti-socialist, the IFP. What that means in real life is up for debate, but they're not great on following through. But I think if the DA and the IFP can still hold on to their agreement, I think the IFP can do really well in KZN. And if KZN is a hung province, I mean, I think 30% of ANC support was from KZN.
Yes.
In the previous
huge
election.
In the 2019 election.
Yeah, huge amount of votes. Yeah. If that goes down 10%, the ANC at national level is dead in the water.
No, the ANC really, I mean, so many ways they've ruined their potential, but one thing is, when Zuma became president, a lot of Zulus started voting ANC who had voted IFP or never voted for the ANC in the past.
Yeah.
And now a lot of them have left.
The Zulus are not represented in the biggest political party.
No, they're not.
That's always a problem.
Yeah.
And the ANC don't seem to realize it. They got Bikitele, but no one thinks he's useful. But he's not in the top 6. He's not in the top echelons of leadership of the party. He is.
I didn't realize he was Zulu. I thought he was an alien.
No, I thought he was drunk, but apparently he's a teetotaler. So he's just literally like that. Born that way.
Speaking of which, he got a little bit of a smackdown by none other than Julius Malema yesterday. In Parliament. That was pretty entertaining. John Steenhuisen was maliciously attacked by Bekele, and lo and behold, EFF leader Julius Malema comes to the rescue and says that was unparliamentary, which is true, but shocking to hear him say that. What's his angle?
The EFF is always a stickler for rules when it affects them. Then they know, like, rule 2.51
subsection 3
says you're not allowed to do this.
Promulgated on October 5th of 2021. Yeah, no, it is true. They definitely can find the rules in. Any other time, it's not something that applies to them. Well, Ramon, we could talk for hours, but I think you've got some events to take care of today, so we probably should wrap up. You've been very generous with the time. I appreciate it. It's good to see you finally in person. We've chatted many times. You've been a guest on my program several times. I've been on your program once. I'm just saying, once.
We hardly have guests these days.
When I was the shiny penny that everybody wanted to talk to before YouTube so unceremoniously dumped me. No, but seriously. No, you guys hardly have guests. That's a fair point.
Yeah.
But no, it's great seeing you in person finally. We weren't able to do it last time. Hopefully we can do it again sometime.
No, with absolute pleasure. And it's a pleasure. We had breakfast earlier. Chris was on time, which is rare.
I was actually early, yeah.
Yeah, you were. Yeah. Which is rare in South Africa. Yeah, it's good to meet in person. Rather than some ranty man from Philadelphia. No, sorry, Pennsylvania.
Not from Philadelphia. That's where the liberals live. Oh my goodness.
Pennsylvania is where the Amish live.
And the Mennonites.
And the Mennonites.
It's overwhelmingly ethnically German.
So I think what you should do.
Yeah.
Is go to the Mennonites and the Amish, learn everything you can about self-reliance, and just export it here.
Well, I already know all about self-reliance.
We can create a good business, Chris.
I grew up in a farm with no electricity. Fetch water from a cistern, use an outdoor privy, or as we call them, an outhouse to go to the toilet. And South Africans they're nonplussed when I tell them that, until I mention that, do that at minus 20
yes,
in the wintertime. You don't sit very long in the commode.
So I have a theory that life was a lot better when outhouses were a real thing, rather than having indoor toilets.
I don't know if that's true.
It is true.
I think life became a lot better when aircon was invented.
Well, that I can agree with. I think it's important to have an outhouse.
Yeah, you can have the outhouse. I'll take the flush toilet. I'm just saying now. No, but I think that, you know, it's funny because people look back on times, and for me, the best decade ever, and of course that was the decade of maturation, the decade when we were still fighting a Cold War, when the lines were drawn, the bipolar world, and our economy was humming and things were happening, was the 80s. Now for South Africans, a very different worldview because you were under siege with what was going on, but for me as an American, the 80s was just a brilliant time. The 90s was kind of a confusing decade for everybody because the end of the bipolar and the beginning of a brief unipolar world created a lot of chaos. Rwanda, Somalia, Yugoslavia, all these other things. And the new millennium was supposed to bring the millennium bug, remember that?
Yeah.
Y2K bug? What a bunch of nonsense that turned out to be. But it was supposed to bring all this great hope, and then we ushered in with 9/11, and it's all been chaos since then.
It has, and the neocons have sort of ruled that particular decade and ruined it to some extent.
Yes,
so I don't think there's going to be any sort of sense of calmness for the foreseeable future in the world. I think multipolar is becoming more obvious by the day.
Indeed.
I think the Russia-Ukraine thing is a spark of something much more. I'm not thinking World War III, but I'm thinking of spheres of influence.
No, but geopolitical competition.
Yeah, and countries maybe wanting to become less reliant on the Americans or the West Europeans.
Or the Chinese.
Like that, or the Chinese, of course. So we'll see where it goes. But I'm staying right here. If there's nuclear war, like, no one will bomb us because
No, but see, Ramon,
it looks like it.
Look, I mentioned this last time in my live stream, my night owls. Here's the thing about Americans and about South Africans. Like cockroaches, we'll survive a nuclear conflict. I mean, because South Africans and Americans are resilient. They just are. We bounce back.
Well, first of all, nothing will reach here, as far as I know.
No, we can reach you.
But you're going to cause billions of dollars of improvements if you do that. So
Yeah, because we'll feel guilty and we'll have to come back to rebuild South Africa. That might be the best thing to happen to South Africa.
Yeah. Like, I can't wait for Zelensky to come to a state visit to South Africa. It's like, I didn't know Russian missiles went this far. It's like, no, this is just what it looks like. Oh, you weren't bombed. No. It's just South Africa, mate.
No, it just looks this way.
It just looks this way.
There were no artillery rounds landing here. That's human activity. Anyway, oh my goodness. All right, Ramon Cabanac, it's always a pleasure, brother.
Thank you, Chris.
Catch you later.
Any pleasure.
All right, folks, we're still live. You know that. Give me a second to turn it off. Don't write anything nasty in the comments while Ramon's still on camera.
Yes,
he's got
please
work
don't.
to do, so he's checking his phone. Ramon takes on problems with the DA are worse than ever. Did JS pay him? Oh, that's not nice.
Yeah.
You're saying, your take on the DA is worse than ever. Did John Steenhuisen pay for your last video?
Yeah, it's wonderful to.
All right, with that, I'm going to end it.